This woman slept with 100 men in one day. And now a video has come out where she actually talks about her experience when she finished. So let's watch it, and then I'm going to break down and explain to you why high body count women are less trustworthy.
When was the last time you ate?
I think I had a yum yum, and then I think I had a sandwich, and that was and then the rest. It's not for the weak, girls, if I'm honest. It was hard. I don't know if I'd recommend it.
Why not?
I think if you're a different type of girl, it's very it's kind of like being a prostitute in a sense of it's just a different feeling. I don't know how to explain it,
It's not like just having sex with someone.
Yeah. Just one in, one out, it feels intense.
Like more intense than you thought it might.
Definitely.
Well, just like she said, she kind of felt like a prostitute. And this woman now has forever left a stain on her soul. Very sad that this video would even have 153 million views and counting. But this is the state of the Western world. This is shameful. And the thing is, guys, there are women out there that have 100 body count. Not in a day, but they have 100 body count or bigger. And they're trying to keep it hidden from you. Guys, you need to vet women. I did say before we watched the clip that I'm going to talk to you about the importance of why you can't trust a high body count woman. Because this forever changes a person and it damages them beyond repair. This woman can't pair bond. Okay? The risk of her having STDs and other health problems, not just physical problems, but mental problems. Not to mention spiritually, she's not a good candidate for a wife or a mother. Unless you want your kids to grow up and see the video of mummy, and you have to deal with that shame, walk the hell away. And this woman is just as bad as the 100 men who slept with her. Because this is all free will. She wasn't forced into it. She wasn't a victim. She wasn't trafficked. She wasn't kidnapped off the side of the road at gunpoint. She promoted this video. She wanted to do 100 men in a day to go viral. You reap what you sow. I don't feel bad for her because she's fully accountable for what she's done. At any point she could have stopped and said no. She's not an underage girl who was exploited. She's an adult. She knows what she's doing. You let 5 guys into your body. Do you regret it? She didn't. At any moment she could have gone, okay, I regret it. I need to stop this. She didn't do that. She did it. The full 100 bodies. She looked sad in her face, but there's no confession. There's no repentance in her tone of voice. You can't really see someone here who's changed or transformed. Maybe down the road, God bless her if she does. But it doesn't change the fact that she's forever tainted, and not a lot of whole men would wife her up. Okay? Yes, Christ died for your sins, and you can come to him for salvation for your soul, 100%. But in life, there are still consequences. If I cut my hands off and accept Christ as my Lord and Savior and beg him to give me new hands, he ain't going to give me new hands. It's biologically impossible. I did this to myself. Now I have to live with the fact that I'm going to have limited mobility because of me. She can come to Christ down the road and clean up her act and be modest and talk about how bad it is what she did to herself. But it's not going to change the fact that this is plastered on the internet. There is evidence that she's been ran through. Most men are going to see the 5,000 yard cock stare, and she's going to have a very limited dating pool to weak men that are going to overlook her past, or men who have a similar sexual history as her. Because no good guy who values his purity is going to wife her up. That's reality. Accountability is something that both men and women alike need. And if you are watching this video and you're a woman, I beg you, stay the hell away from men that want to sleep with you, fornicate with you. Do not give men an inch. Walk away. Vet men properly. Avoid bad men. If you're a man and you think this is disgusting, but you like the idea of hooking up and running around with women, you're just as bad as her. You need to be the type of man that you would want your daughter to marry. So start living a cleaner damn life and uphold your standards and stay away from women like this. Because if there is no demand, the supply drops to zero. If all men said no to prostitutes, said no to sleeping around, people like this would be socially outcasted. Okay, you have a choice here. Raise your standards. So let's go through some of the comments, and just quickly before I do, there's a video of her promoting this and how much fun she was going to have before she slept with the guys, and there's a video on my channel where I actually break this whole thing down. I'll leave the link down below and it'll pop up at the end of the video. For my new viewers who maybe haven't seen it, give it a watch. So now let's go through the comments and see what people have to say. Someone says, whether people want to admit it or not, sex is not transactional, it is spiritual. There is a reason why SA is so different than just assault. It's an attack directly on someone's soul. Society telling women it means nothing was a grievous sin that has caused unimaginable damage. I agree. Next comment. Her eyes are completely empty and her soul is completely corroded. She's broken. This is what being a prostitute does to you. I agree. The next person says Weimar. Well, yeah, it is very much like the Republic of Weimar. Back in Germany in the 1920s, for those who don't know, after World War I, the hands were tied after the Versailles Treaty and they had to pay up a lot of money and they were in financial crisis. And it was such a desperate time financially. People were starving, women would turn to prostitution, sexual degeneracy ran akin, everything went really bad. And it's kind of what we're seeing in America, Canada, Western Europe now in the 2020s, 100 years later. We have this Judeo-communist value system in the West that has destroyed Christianity, that has destroyed modesty, that has destroyed any sense of homogenous community. And it's just created this goblin mixture of just degenerate sin, where this stuff is even popular. So I also agree with this comment. Next comment says she's broken. It's her fault, I know, but it is sad to see nonetheless. Her eyes have lost all soul. It's sad for a society, but people like this need to be called out. Because next thing you know, she'll be making a video about how bad she feels and she didn't mean it, she didn't consent. And it's like, she's a fully grown adult. She knows exactly what she was doing. And the Bible does tell you, and it warns you about women like this. Proverbs 30 verse 20. Such is the way of an adulterous woman. She eats and wipes her mouth and says, I have done no wickedness. Well, translation to modern English, this can also be translated like this. She eats and wipes her mouth and says, I've done nothing wrong. Unfortunately, women like her, even though in her soul she knows it's wrong, she can't bring herself to admit that. Because if she was forced to admit herself that it's wrong, then that would mean that she has a role to play in what she did to herself. That she's not going to. And gentlemen, you cannot marry an immoral, degenerate woman that is not accountable. You need to marry a good woman who is fully accountable for her life choices. Because this is going to be a woman that's open to growth, to change, to improvement. When you correct your wife or you teach her right from wrong, she'll submit to you, she'll follow your lead. This is someone you can have a relationship, a connection, a bond with. Not someone like this. She eats and wipes her mouth and says, well, I've done nothing wrong. Go through a few more comments here. We live in Weimar 2.0. The fact that this doesn't make her an outcast brings intense shame on her is a dark and awful condemnation of our society. I agree. Someone said that poor baby, she's been lied to and used. No, she hasn't been used. She let herself be used. She made a horrible choice. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't 1 or 2 body counts and she felt bad. She chose to do this to herself. She even wanted to do a 1,000 challenge. Yes, she should still come to Christ, I agree, as I said earlier. It don't change the fact that not many men are going to pick her. And this is where, as men, you need to be a realist. Let's say you rob a bank and you go to prison, and it's on your record that you stole gold deposits or money from a bank. Now let's say you go work, you apply for a job at a bank, and the employer looks at your record. As the employer, is it in the bank's best interest for him to hire you, a previous bank thief, or hire a guy who has the same qualifications as you, who doesn't have a record of stealing from a bank? Which is the smarter move? I think we all know you'll go with the latter. And it's the same thing here. As a man, and you value your purity, and you don't have a body count, you haven't whatever, would you choose a woman who's done something like this? If you know, of course not. You would go for a woman who has a clean history like you. Right? Common sense. That's all it is. It's just being a realist. It's wrong what she's done. And keep in mind, guys, there are men and women who have double, triple digit body counts like this. And they're not on social media. So you have to vet and ask quality questions. When you meet a woman, guys, you gotta ask, oh, what are you looking for in a guy? Tell me about your sexual history. Tell me about your past. Because I'm telling you, even if a woman lies to you about her body count, it'll come out. Because when you go through town, you'll hear stories. You'll get dirty looks from people like you're with the town slut. It will come out eventually. Okay? Be very selective and vet thoroughly. Someone said, it's being a prostitute. It's not like being a prostitute. Well, kind of true. And it's such a shame that this woman even chose to degrade herself. And there is no excuse for this lifestyle. She's an average to slightly above average looking girl in her 20s at the peak of her youth and beauty. All she had to do was stay in good shape, dress modestly, be soft and feminine, and literally go on a date with a good, handsome guy who's a strong provider who would have taken good care of her, and she could have beautiful children and a white picket fence and a husband that would love and honor and protect her. She's not in a wheelchair. She doesn't have a physical deformity. She's not unattractive. And she's thrown everything away that God has given and blessed her with for a few minutes of fame in exchange for a lifetime of shame. That's the trade-off. So guys, when you see these beautiful women, oh, I've slept with all these men, and I don't fall for it. Obviously, I'm with someone who has a clean past, as do I, thank goodness. But for you guys that are single, go choose a woman that does have a clean past too. Stay away from women like this. If someone has a 2 body count, a 3 body count, a 4 body count, maybe a 5 body count, and they're in their 20s, you can kind of, in today's, I kind of understand. But come on, when people get into the double digits or the triple digits, at some point, when did you realize, what was I doing wrong? This isn't a mistake. It's not I was being young and dumb and I slept with 2 people and I don't know what I was doing. This is intentional and it was purposeful. 100 bodies. You can't justify it. Avoid women like this. The wiring in their brain has now changed. The ability to pair bond has now been broken. You can see it in her eyes. Very sad. There's even more posts. And that's where she breaks down in tears as she details her experience. Apparently the cameraman gagged at the smell of sex in the room as she slept with 100 men. She said, I don't know if I'd recommend it. It's kind of like being a prostitute. It's more intense than I thought it would be. You reap what you sow. Interesting that she can't come right out and say she made a huge mistake. Instead, she tiptoes around the idea, seemingly to imply it might be okay for certain types of women, right? Oh, it's not for every girl. You have to be a different type of girl, right? Exactly. But I'm sure some simple still take on marriage. So and the funny thing is with the internet is guys have this idea in their head that, oh, 50 years ago people weren't like this. No, the standard in society 50 years ago was this was wrong. But throughout human history, if you really dig deep, I mean, prostitution, brothels, cheating, there's been degeneracy and sexual sin from the dawn of time. There has been. Now, it's just, obviously it has been promoted, which is one, but also social media shines a light on things. Okay, so people that do live this degenerate life, you can see it. And even if there wasn't social media, maybe she wouldn't have slept with 100 men in a day, but she would have done what, 20, 30, 40, 50 men, maybe in a few months, because she likes it. There's lots of stories of girls and guys. They go off traveling, they go on their little fucking trips, excuse my French. They go on a girl's trip or a guy's trip and they just start sleeping around because it's far away from town and nobody back home is going to know. So this stuff happens with or without social media or light shined on it. Okay, it's like people who think that the more money you have, the worse of a person you're going to be. And I disagree. It depends on the quality of person you already were, on your pre-existing values. If you give them millions to a selfish, narcissistic monster, they have now more financial resources to exploit and take advantage of others and be more of a horrible person. It expands who they are. Versus giving millions to a good, kind-hearted man, he might do really good with that money. He might, I don't know, retire his parents or take care of the sick and put money away for his children and his grandchildren and take care of his family and give back to his community because he's a giver and he's kind. It expands who you are. Okay? There's plenty of good women that are beautiful and young and they're not living like her. They'll get a 9 to 5, they'll work a normal job, they'll, I don't know, stay home, watch Netflix, watch a few movies and hopefully they find a good man one day. Most girls are not out there sleeping around, racking up a body count. It's blown out of proportion on the internet. There is definitely a percentage, but it's not like this. Okay? Most people, they average 3 to 4 bodies before they marry. Meaning they'll have maybe 1 or 2 bodies from a relationship, 1 or 2 from a hookup, and they go, this ain't right. I'll raise my standard because I've experienced pain. People do more to avoid pain than to gain pleasure, and they change. That's it. And then they settle down and they find someone. That's for the average person. The average person is not going around sleeping with hundreds of people. Women like this, you'll be able to spot them a mile away in person because they look deranged. Okay? The internet is just shining a light on who these people are. And the internet just gives them an outlet to be this type of person. Okay? So, people want to make excuses. I feel bad for her. She's fully accountable for what she's done. Okay? In comparison to the emotional and mental pain she'll experience for the rest of her life, physically it's one day. With that many men, it's going to be painful and uncomfortable. But when comparing it to the emotional pain, different story. She's going to relive this day every day for the rest of her life. That could be the emotional equivalent to 1,000 days of pain. Very true. And this is what she says. I can't wait. It's very exciting. It'll be a world record. I want to do a new challenge. 1,000 men in 24 hours. I don't know what else to say. I think I've gone through a few more comments and it's wrong. It's wrong for men. It's wrong for women. There's no reason for men or women to indulge in this lifestyle. Whether you're a man sleeping with 100 women or a woman sleeping with 100 men. It is wrong for both genders. We were not made for this. We were made for one man, one woman, as per Genesis chapter 2, verse 18. We are meant to be committed for life and have a family and honour and love each other. Because every time you share your body with a stranger, you lose a piece of yourself that you just don't get back. Be very careful the lifestyle that you live. And with that said, for those that would like to learn more about my work or be part of my relationship community, I'd love to have you in. I'll leave a link down below. It'll be posted as well. And with that said, let me know your thoughts of this woman. I mean, I think it's terrible. But someone like this is broken. And as a man, you just cannot, in goodwill, commit to a woman like this. Gentlemen, please be very careful of the quality of woman that you choose.